Okay, you guys, we need to chat. You can have the best marketing in the world and the best online presence and online platform, but if you don't have a product or service that is desired by a market, your business is going to flop. I promise you. It does not matter how good your marketing is. It doesn't even matter how good your product or service is. You have to know your market desires what you're offering, and you have to know, in their words, 30 pain points at least that you are solving for them. That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to the show. Okay, one of the hardest concepts for entrepreneurs to grasp is knowing how to market to their audience in a way that conveys to their audience, I have the solution for your problems because I understand your problems and I have solutions for you that lead to a bigger solution, aka my product or service. So most people, most entrepreneurs, when I ask them, who are you helping? They begin with, well, I have this product and this product solves all these problems. That is always a backward answer to the question. And if you answer that way, if you start by identifying your product and what you think your product does, you will never speak to your person in their language. Sales will be a struggle, interaction will be a struggle, and people aren't hearing you because you're talking about your product and they don't care. They don't care about your product unless you can talk to them about their pain points. Okay, so we're going to talk today about what makes a product or service marketable. I want you to really question, do I have a product or service that's marketable, aka desired by a market, or not? Am I just picking something that's not going to actually sell well? And we're going over this topic because I've had a couple of clients who are trying to figure out what their offer is. They're trying to figure out what they want to sell. What's their thing? How are they going to help people? And they've had a hard time because they come up with something, they see how well people respond, and they're like, oh, I got to try something else. They see how well their people respond, and they're like, oh, I got to try something else. And there is a fine line between listening to your audience for feedback to know if you have a desired product versus not sticking with it long enough to get the results. Because anything that you launch is going to take a while to see results, right? You can't launch anything and have like hundreds of thousands of customers in the first couple of weeks. That's just not going to happen. You have to build momentum. So how do you know if, by the way your audience is responding, if it's not desired by a market, or if you just need to stick it out? And so I was like, you know what, how do you know? And I came up with some points that I want to talk to you guys about today. I came up with 5 points of how to know if you have a product or service that's desired by a market. These are just my personal observations. Number 1, it's something that you would pay for. Most likely you'd pay tenfold for it. And preferably you have paid for this in the past, right? Like hopefully you have experience. You've actually invested in this thing. You totally believe in it. You'd pay like 10 times the amount of money. Even if your budget was tight, you'd make it work. You would see it as a need. It is a need, not a want. So many people try to sell people a want, and then they wonder why they won't spend money. It's most likely a need for people, I promise, but you're not communicating it to them as a need. You're communicating it to them as a want. But first of all, let's just check your product or service. Is this a need? And why do they need it? You could ask yourself, why do they need this? If their money's tight and they don't have room in the budget, why do they need to create money in the budget? And you might have to ask yourself that a few times and peel back the onion till you really dig deep down. What really makes people spend money? Well, most likely they're saving time or money, they're helping their kids, they're helping their marriage. Think those big pain points. Number 2, it's solution-based. It fills a legitimate hole that needs to be filled, aka there was a problem for you and other people you know, so you came up with a solution. This is your problem within the problem that I've talked about before, where if you're saying that your product solves one major problem, AKA I'm a health coach, I help solve weight loss. That's not really the problem within the problem. That's leading with an industry instead of leading with a niche. I've talked about this before on a podcast. If you need to refresh your memory, you can go back and listen to it. But you won't succeed as long as you lead with the whole industry. You've got to have a problem within the industry that you're solving. And this is where it takes some digging, you guys. And this again goes back to not leading with your product. When I ask someone, who are you helping? And they start with, well, this is our product, and this is what it does. That is sales-based. That is you-based. That's putting yourself first. So what I want you to instead do is be solution-based. No, what's the problem you're solving? Like, who are you helping because of the problem you're solving? Don't tell me about your product. Tell me about the problem that will be better because of you. Tell me about the problem that the mom in her home is dealing with right now that she can't live with anymore. It's that bad. She can't live with it anymore. So think solution. What solution are you solving with this product or service? What did you see that was a problem for you and hopefully other people that you were like, I can fill that hole. In fact, I'm going to create something to fill that hole. That's amazing. And if you're in a network marketing business, you have to do even more digging because you've got to take the industry that you joined with that network marketing business, and you need to look for a problem within the industry and find a hole that you want to fill. Number 3, it has a person in mind you want to help, not a product you want to sell. So these two kind of go together. It's service-based, not sales-based. This is a group of people that you know need this. And it also evolves with times to keep up with what people need. So it evolves with the times is what I meant to say, because times are always changing. So what worked 50 years ago doesn't work today. What worked 10 years ago doesn't work today. What worked 1 year ago isn't even working today. So this is where you look at what group of people is suffering because of COVID right now. What group of people is suffering because of lockdown right now? What group of people is suffering because of different issues going on in the world? What group of people has a need that's not being filled because we're still trying to use something from 50 years ago to fill this need? And it starts with the person. Who are you helping? What group of people is suffering? What kind of person is suffering? What people that are like you? This goes back to a problem that you had, that you see other people have, and you're like, nobody's stepping up to help with this problem. It's probably because it's supposed to be you. You're probably supposed to step up. So start with the person you want to help and work backwards from there. Number 4, you personally experienced a need and found or created this solution. I love helping people with a business that they have experienced this need themselves, because you can have all the knowledge in your head, but if you haven't experienced it yourself, you're probably not going to have the passion, and you're probably not going to know everything you need to know to create the best solution. You can teach from a place of knowing in your head, but it's another thing to live it. Am I right? So create a business around your actual experiences and what you would want to buy or pay for to change those. Think back through your life. What experiences have you had? Or just look at your life right now. What's really hard in your life right now? What's frustrating for you in your life right now? What are you like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep living this way. Like, what is that? And then say, maybe I'm supposed to come up with the solution. And if I can come up with anything, like what would I create? Number 5, it combines best practices from multiple industries to create a better, more convenient solution for the times. Think Airbnb, Uber, Venmo. Like, think about companies that started something because they saw a need that had evolved with the times. So people still needed to travel. They still needed to stay somewhere. And people realized, you know what? Why can't we just match people up who are traveling with people that have a room, or people that have extra rooms in their home, or people that whatever, right? And that started based on I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing people wanting to also be more environmentally conscious, right? How can we be more environmentally conscious? Well, we don't need all these hotels, right? We have people that have too big of houses. They have extra room. Like, why aren't we using those? They did a problem within a problem. So think about, because Airbnb broke the mold, Uber broke the mold. They all broke the mold because they didn't just look at what one industry does and keep it in a box, and another industry does and keep it in a box. Instead, they were like, what does this industry do well? I'm going to pick something from that. What does this industry do well? I'm going to pick something from that, or put my own spin on it, right? Airbnb broke the mold because they took the idea of hotels, they took the idea of renting rooms, and just decided to put it in a new context. So how are you taking the idea of something before putting it in a new context? Hopefully you are, because that's how you break the mold, that's how you stand out, and that's how you disrupt the norm. And your business should disrupt the norm, because that's what makes you valuable. That's what makes you a specialist and not a general surgeon, is when you're disrupting the norm. The reason sales are probably hard for you is because you're sticking to being like everybody else. You're doing your business like everybody else. You're doing the same thing as everybody else in your industry. So that doesn't make you any different. It doesn't make you special. It doesn't make you a specialist. The way to become a specialist is to take what you love from what you're doing, take what you love from the industry that you're in, and take it out of that context and put it in a new context. So these are just 5 things that you can ask yourself when you look at your business, and I'll go back over them really quickly for you guys to ask. Is it something I would pay for tenfold, even if my budget was tight, and why? 2, solution-based. Is it solution-based? Am I solution-based? Am I filling a legitimate hole that needs to be filled? What problem am I solving that I needed solved and that I'm helping other people solve? What problem within the problem, right? What person am I helping? What group of people is suffering right now because of something? What group of people in the industry that I'm in is suffering that I'm helping? Have I personally experienced this need and helped to come up and create this solution? Or did I just join somebody else's experience and trying to sell their experience and the solution? Because that's never going to work. And that's really hard to do in an MLM. Well, it's easy to do in an MLM. So take whatever their solution was that they came up with for the problem they had, and find your own problem and use it to solve your own things. And then how am I taking this out of the industry and putting it in a new context? Because that's how I become a specialist and desired by the market. Those are my quick tips for you guys today, because remember, if you don't know these answers and you can't show up talking from this perspective to your prospects, to your ideal clients, you're not going to compel them to see why they need you. They won't feel compelled to see why they should spend money on you. They're going to see it maybe as a desire or a want, but they're not going to see it as a need. This is how you become needed by your market. And this is how to tell if you have a marketable, desired product or service. If you answered no to all of these, you probably don't have the right product or service, and you can go back to the drawing board. If you answered yes to some of them, awesome. Where can you dig in and go deeper and like niche out even more, or figure out what makes you different? If you're like, I don't even know where to begin with any of these, go send me a DM. We can coach. I can help you, right? That's what I help my clients do. I help people with this, because the more you get clear on this stuff, the more different you are with your business, the more you stand out on Instagram. And that's when people come to you and say, I want to know more. How do I work with you? Okay. I promise you guys, you want to be different. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to disrupt the norm. How are you disrupting the norm in your industry? Really ask yourself that. How am I disrupting the norm? Am I? If you're not, you probably want to go back to the drawing board. All right. That's my quick little tip for you guys today. I hope you all have an awesome Friday. If you love this episode, don't forget to share it out on your stories. Tell me which one of these questions helped you the most. Maybe ask me for questions or advice, or tell me you want an application to coach. I've got a couple of spots left. I would love to hear from you and hear how this helped you guys today. And as always, have an amazing day.